So here's the thing. Every entrepreneur I have ever come across wants to do three things really well. Number one, you want to make more money. Number two, you want to have a bigger impact on the world. Number three, you want to do it all while building your business around your life and not the other way around. You see, every goal that I've ever asked any of my 462 plus one-on-one coaching clients always fell into those three categories: income, impact, and lifestyle. Those were the ones that everyone wanted to focus on. But what if you could accomplish even bigger goals than that? What if you could do the impossible? On today's show, I'm going to be walking you through my goal-getting process, not goal-setting, the goal-getting process, because the fact is, most goal-setting fails to deliver. We're going to talk today about goal-getting. EdTalks Live is next. Hey, what's up, party people? My name's Ed Rush, five-time #1 best-selling author, your host for the most positive place on the planet for insanely implementable ideas. Today, we are talking about how to accomplish, how to fuel big goals. We are in the final segment of our goal accomplishing, or what I'm calling our goal getting series. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a review as I jump up to the whiteboard today, but let me just tell you, in the meantime, jump into chat, tell us who you are, where you're from, what you do. On the right-hand side, that's on YouTube. Usually there's a chat stream that shows up right there. If you're on your mobile device, that's going to be below. If you're on Facebook, that's below. And if you're on Instagram Live, what's up, my Instagram Live folks? It's good to see you as well. Jump in and say hello and push that like button, okay? And you're welcome to comment as well. I would love to be able to answer your questions today. Today, we're going to talk about how to roll up your sleeves and flat out get it done. Because the truth is, most, if not all, goal setting fails to deliver because it focuses you on the wrong thing. I'm going to jump up on the whiteboard in just a second. In the meantime, let me say hello to some of our friends. Whoops, I've clicked the wrong button. Hey, what's up, Diana? Good to see you as well. I've been following you, Diana, on Instagram. And I'd love to see, I love that latest post, the before and after picture that you had of your garden. I think that is so cool. Hey, what's up, Ron? Good to see you there as well, my man Ron. And jump in on chat and make sure that you say hello. Billy Wilcox, I'm going to see you in like 2 or 2.5 weeks, dude. I'm going to be up in Huntington Beach speaking at Chris Casabass's event. By the way, I don't know where you live, Texas, Florida, South Dakota, California, but the world's opening up, starting to feel good, baby. I was at boxing class this morning. What's up, Celie? Good to see you as well from Tucson, Arizona. What's up? South Dakota, man. Lost Cali boys. Hey, South Dakota never closed. It's just like California, I won't even go there. All right, so I'm going to switch the cameras. I'm going to jump up on the whiteboard, and we're going to start talking about today. By the way, for those of you who are like, what's Ed doing with his camera over there? I'm on Instagram Live today, too. So if you want to watch me over there, you can watch me over there. All right, so the first thing that we're going to talk about, so we're going to move really quickly today because we've got a whole bunch of things to cover. And I will just start with this. Most goal setting ends there, okay? So most goal setting ends at you literally just setting a goal, okay? So today, we're not gonna talk about goal setting. Instead, we're gonna talk about goal getting, okay? What it takes to actually go and accomplish your goals. We're gonna break this down shotgun style, and then when we're towards the end, I'm going to show you how to take it a step further and how to accomplish really, really big dreams. Like, for example, most entrepreneurs I know want to make more money, take more time off, have a bigger impact on the world. Most people want to live healthy lives. They want to feel great. They want to look great. So if I say, hey, what are your goals? Somebody submit, Ed, one of my goals is lose 10 pounds. Awesome. Love it. Let's do that together. Let's get in shape. Or some people like, hey, Ed, what I want to do is I want to write a book. I'm going to say, hey, awesome, man. Let's do that together. Let's go change the world. If somebody says, I want to have a product that helps people plant organic gardens, I say, awesome, man, let's do that. Let's go change the world. And those are great goals. Look, those are awesome goals. Those are phenomenal goals that are going to change the world, but they're not impossible goals, okay? They're not the kind of goals that someone laughs at by the time you get done saying them. And I will tell you that my favorite goals are the ones where people at the end, when you get done saying your goal, people laugh at you, okay? So let me tell you a couple of my goals. All the ones that I just mentioned, by the way, are some of my goals. But one of my goals is I want to be president of the United States, okay? And that's not even a joke. Some people say, well, is that like some sort of publicity stunt? I said, no, like, I think our country needs new leadership. And that's not impossible, by the way. That becoming president, every 4 years, somebody becomes the president or stays the president. But here's what's impossible. I plan to do it while not being a Republican or a Democrat. In other words, I plan to be the first third-party president since the 1860s. Maybe we're like, you know how many people have told me that is an impossible goal? Listen, I've talked to some of the most influential people inside of Washington who have said, look, Ed, I don't think you understand the way the political sphere is. That's impossible. I've had family members tell me that's impossible. So my litmus test for a great goal is people should laugh at it. Okay, one of my other goals, I would love to live to be 144 years old. Every time I say that to people, they laugh. People laugh, oh my gosh, that's so funny. But you know what? I've got some regenerative health doctors that are working right now in the anti-aging space. I say, when I want to live to be 144 years old, some of those people, they look at me and they go, man, I want to help you do that. See, they believe because they understand the science that's coming around the corner. One of my goals in life, I want to be able to colonize a planet. Okay, look, I know we don't have the technology right now to fly faster than light, but maybe we will some point, and it would be awesome to be influential in colonizing a planet. So those are some of my big goals. And I'm going to get to a little bit later in the show how to accomplish really big goals, the ones that people say impossible, because it takes a different kind of thinking to be able to step it up to that level. And I'm going to show you how you can train your mind for that kind of thinking. By the way, when you start training your mind for that kind of thinking, things like getting in shape, losing 10 pounds, making more money, easy, okay? So let me jump into chat real quick and say hello to some of our friends. What's up, Instagram Live folks? What's up, Billy Wilcox? Good to see you as well. South Dakota. I got my South Dakota crew today, baby. I love it. Thank you, Salih. Thank you. I know. Everybody's like, you had my vote. By the way, if you want to learn more about that, you can go to edrushforamerica.com. The whole policy statement is sitting right there. The bottom line is when people say unity right now on either side, here's what they mean. When people say unity now, what they mean is you ought to think like I think. So like people on the right who are like, we should be united, they basically mean you should be united around what they're thinking. And the people on the left who are like, we should be united, they're like, yeah, and we don't want to hear anything else from anyone else except for us. Well, like that's the way we've always been. We've been united over here and smashing in the middle. But what would happen if we actually came to these issues and talked about them like adults? Because here's the thing, every issue is more complicated than you think it is, okay? Because if it wasn't, it wouldn't be an issue. It would be solved by now, all right? So we're gonna get a little bit into that just a little bit. So, all right, so let me go, one more what's up? Harisha, good to see you as well. You can talk about somebody who's active on Instagram. All right, so we're gonna start our goal getting process, and I'm going to go do a little review. Now, this series has been going on for about 3 weeks, kind of off and on, and so I'm going to jump into the first thing that we talked about a while ago. We're going to look at it from a little bit of a different perspective. Step number one in the goal setting or the goal getting process is to focus on what you have. And let me just tell you, this is where most goal getting or goal setting or goal accomplishing goes awry, okay? Because the average goal approach goes like this. I want you to sit down, I want you to take a journal, and I want you to write down all of your goals. And if you were like me, you sat down and you're like, I want to do this, and I want to do this, and it felt good. It actually really did feel good, right? Because you're sitting down, you're writing your goals, and you're like, man, this feels great. I'm writing my goals down. I feel very positive. In fact, I feel very hopeful. That's what happens in that process. You start to feel hopeful. But what I realized is later on, that hope actually turns into what's called hopium, okay? Which is like the same as opium. It makes you feel really good for a little while, but then you crash there at the end. And that's because the modern day goal setting focuses you on the wrong thing first. So you've heard the law of attraction, people. And by the way, I don't have any issue with you if you're a law of attraction person, but you hear the law of attraction people talk like this. What you focus on grows and expands, and eventually you'll have it. And technically, that works, but not without the action that follows behind it. So for example, I've tried this before. I've sat in my chair, and I just thought about millions and millions of dollars, hoping that the sky would open up, and all of a sudden, millions and millions of dollars would come through. But you know what? Millions and millions of dollars didn't come through. What happened was I stayed sitting on my couch because there was an activity required to go along with the thinking. So the problem with the typical start to goal setting is the process works like this. You were told to set a goal, and so you wrote down your goal, and then you thought about your goal. But the fact is, by thinking about your goal, you were thinking about something you didn't have first. And when you spend your time thinking about things you don't have, what happens is you go from hope to discontentment, because remember, if you're focusing and obsessing over something you don't have, you're going to be discontented with the things that you do have, which eventually leads to apathy and eventually ends up in discouragement, okay? So discontentment leads to apathy, which eventually leads to discouragement. So if you've been around and around and around and around the goal setting process before you wrote them down, you're like, I'm gonna do it this time, like New Year's resolution, man. I'm gonna do it this time, but you never did it. It's because you were focusing on the wrong thing. You were focusing on the thing that you don't have. So step number one in the goal getting process, I just changed the name this morning, by the way. Step number one in the goal getting process is to focus on what you have, okay? Now, you're not gonna stay there forever. You're going to transfer that focus in a moment. But as you remember, if you watch some of the earlier shows when I started to talk about this, as you remember, I said you could do this with the most basic things. Like I'm looking at my Instagram folks right now. You could, what's up, Marquetta Breslin? You could take, for example, this mug. See this mug right here? This is a American flag mug. Marquetta sent me this awesome poem this morning that one of our mutual students wrote about America, and it was really, really cool. So this American flag mug, see this guy right here? So this is a quote from Abraham Lincoln. It says, "Government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth." And I love this mug. I actually got this mug at the Independence Hall in Philadelphia, right next to the Liberty Bell. And when I bought it, it wasn't broken, but I brought it home and it fell on the ground and it broke. And I thought, isn't this kind of true for America? You know, we're founded on pretty solid principles, but man, we've been broken and batched up along the way. But you know what? As long as we stay together, as long as we honor our commitments to each other, we're going to be just fine. In fact, we're going to do great, okay? And there are a lot of countries out there that haven't even come close to the distance that we've covered in bringing ourselves together. We should actually be pretty happy about that. We've got a long way to go, but much like this mug, it's kind of broken up a little bit, but the principles still hold true. Well, I really like this mug. Really like this mug. I've actually had this mug for like 3 years. It was just sitting over there today and I poured my coffee and I was like, man, I like this mug. I like the way it feels. This is a cold brew, right? So my fingers are kind of nice and chilly. Ooh, I like that. I do like the coffee. This is a little mixture. I got a couple brews all in one, right? So that's good. That's good. It tastes good. I'm really thankful for that. I'm really thankful that I live in a world where I have a refrigerator. Dude, people 200 years ago didn't have a refrigerator. I made my cold brew with this really filtered water that we have. It's good. I'm really thankful for that. Okay, now pause for a moment. You saw how I just did the whole process. This is me demonstrating the gratitude goal getting process, okay? And the process, it just simply starts with something you have. It doesn't even have to be a big thing. Like y'all maybe remember, I did this about my mouse. This is an electronic mouse, totally cool kind of thing. So you start with the thing that you have, and then you transfer that feeling to the thing that you want. Did you catch that? What you do is you overlay that feeling of the thing that you have onto the thing that you want. Therefore, you're not spending all your time thinking about the thing you don't have. You're spending your time thinking about the thing you do. So take weight loss, for example, which is one of the most common goals. People say, hey, Ed, I just want to lose another 10 pounds, all right? And look, my whole life, I mean, like my whole life, I don't want to admit this in public. My whole life, I've wanted to lose 10 pounds. I'm not, this is totally true. This is totally true. Everything I'm telling you is totally true, by the way. So I was writing a book a couple years ago. I pulled a picture out of an old photo album and I scanned the picture, but the photo album was actually open over here in my office next to my printer. And I walked by one day, just walked by my printer, and I looked out of the corner of my eye. Sometimes, you know, when you see something out of the corner of your eye, and I remember thinking, dang, that guy's in good shape. It was just some picture of some guy. My mind was like, dude, that guy's in good shape. And I looked, and it was me. It was me when I was back in the Marine Corps. And I thought, you know what's interesting? Back then, I thought, dude, you need to lose another 10 pounds. What a weird world we live in, right? Because I was like, that guy was in good shape, you know? And I was like, yeah, that guy needs to lose another 10 pounds. I thought, how much of my life have I been discontented about the way that I appear or about my health, okay? So let me just do this for health, right? So for example, I've been sleeping great lately, okay? Great. For the last few months, man, I've been sleeping like 9 hours a night, okay? And I wake up feeling really great. This morning I went to boxing. My body's moving well. I have a lot more energy and I don't need naps like I used to need during the day. So my energy is really feeling good right now. Energy is really feeling good. Now I'd like to lose the 10 pounds just like we all agreed everybody would. But if I take my feeling of the energy that I have right now, ooh, woo, that feels good. And then I overlay that on the 10 pounds. I go, look, I just get another 10 pounds. I just get like another 10 pounds. All of a sudden that goal has fuel. That goal has momentum. That goal has a little jet fuel coming behind it. Just like this says right here. Our job is how to fuel really big goals. We could go on and on about this, but step number 1 is to focus on what you have first. I'm going to jump into chat real quick. Barry, what's up, my man? Barry says, stinking thinking needs a checkup from the neck up. Zig Ziglar. I love that. Harisha, what's up? So, all right. So step number 1 in the goal getting process. By the way, for those of you who just joined us, we're on Instagram Live right now, too, on YouTube Live and Facebook Live, streaming simultaneously. Today we're talking about how to fuel big goals. Step number 1, I talked about how to focus on what you have. Okay, step number 2, this is really important. Step number 2 is to train your brain. Now, there are several steps to being able to do this really well. But when it comes to brain training, okay, so I'm just going to write down on the board, brain training. When it comes to brain training, what you're simply doing is creating a new setting in your brain about what's possible, okay? And I'm not going to go through the whole review, but you remember I put a whole show together about one of the most important things you can do in step number 2, which is to surround yourself with people who are accomplishing or have accomplished what you want to accomplish. So my rule is really simple. Been there, done that, still doing it. So for example, if I want to be a better investor, I'd rather spend time with really good investors and hear how they talk and the things that they're processing instead of spending a lot of time with broke people, right? It was the late Jim Rohn who said that you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I realized, man, you know, like, think about this for a second. So I live in San Diego. San Diego is very active, a lifestyle town, okay? And not everybody, but a lot of the people in San Diego are in really good shape. You walk around, people are in pretty good shape. Now, I grew up in Philly, okay? And look, I love Philly. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I love the Eagles. I love the cheesesteaks. Get myself a cheesesteak stromboli down at the Pepper Mill, okay? Like, I love Philly. But like when you go to Philly, let's put it this way, people aren't as in good shape as they are out here in San Diego, okay? Look, part of the reason people aren't as in good shape in Philly as they are in San Diego is because they're around people who aren't as good a shape, right? If you hang out with a bunch of people who eat cheesesteaks all the time, you're not going to look great, okay? All right, so look, I'm not saying that you have to move to San Diego. Please don't. Not right now, at least. Don't move to California now. Move someplace else, South Dakota. I don't know. But look, if you spend your time around positive people, you're going to think positively. You spend your time around rich people, you're going to make a lot of money, okay? If you spend your time around people who communicate well, you're going to communicate well. That's just the fundamental fact of the human condition. We start to act like the people that we're around. You start to spend your time around a bunch of turds, you're going to act like a turd, okay? So one of the first steps here is the people that you're around. So I was asked this question on a TV show this week. They're like, hey, Ed, listen, I have a question for you. What if you can't find people like that? For example, one of my goals is to move into the $10 million a year category, right? Hard to find people who are making $10+ million a year. Not impossible, but it is a little bit more difficult to find folks like that. Well, guess what? Not true. You can actually find people like that everywhere. So, for example, people like that have written books. People like that have podcasts. People like that have YouTube shows. People like that have online memberships and masterminds, okay? Look, you can find people like that. You just have to be willing to spend time with them, potentially in a way that you weren't just thinking. Remember I said the people that you spend time with? You were thinking all together, like I was describing all of it, like in person. But you know what? If you go get 5 books from 5 very wealthy people, you're going to start to think like a wealthy person. There's a book on my shelf. Where is that book? Oh man, I think it's on the other shelf. One of my favorite books is a book called How to Get Rich. It's written by a guy named Felix Dennis. Delisa, just put that in chat if you would. Look, it's an irreverent book written by the guy who started Maxim magazine. So like, don't expect it to be nice. It's rough around the edges. Okay, so like, don't judge a book by its cover, but it is written by a billionaire. Okay, and I was kind of interested, like, how does a billionaire think? So People is one of them. Okay, but so there's some other brain setting approaches that are actually really important. Okay, so first, like for example, if you've read 21 Day Miracle, which by the way, if you haven't read this book, oh man, it's over here. I'll get it. So if you have not read this book, if you have, I want you to tell me in chat. But if you haven't read this book, it's here's the link right here. Hold on. Boom. edrushbook.com. That's the link, right? Look, if you haven't it's 99 cents on Kindle, for real, okay? And I think it's like $12 on paperback. You could spend $1 million getting the tools that are inside of that book. So if you want to wrap yourself around successful people, read what successful people write. And inside the book, one of the 21-day sprints that I have inside of the book is called the 21-day 21-day mind mastery sprint. Okay. Step number 1 of that is awareness. Not even changing just yet. It's just being aware. For example, sometimes people say to themselves, well, I guess you're just getting older. I guess you're just slowing down. People say that to themselves all the time. They say, hey, I'm just getting older. I guess I'm just slowing down. Well, it shouldn't be surprising that your body, if you start to believe that, actually follows behind you. So I started to realize after I turned 40, almost 50 by the way, when I turned 40, I started feeling, oh man, I'm running out of time. That started to become a belief system that it started to change my life, and I didn't want it to, so I fixed that thinking really quickly. But first step is awareness, and the second step is to find and replace. You ever use that search function inside Word document or something like that? Find and replace. You take one thought pattern and you replace it with another. Some of you were in our prayer session where I showed you how quickly you could say, I reject the lie of that and I choose instead to believe that. We'll put that link below, by the way, if you haven't already had. I think the link actually is already below if you're on YouTube. So brain training starts with the people that you're around, or the books you read, or the music you listen to, or the podcasts you listen to, or the videos that you watch. Okay, this is a principle that I call purposeful intake. Then it moves to awareness and then finding and replacing. Literally just changing the software coding that goes on in your brain. Okay, so that's step number 2, which is to train your brain. I'm going to jump into the comments. And by the way, if you're on, thank you for those hearts over on Instagram. By the way, if you're on Instagram watching me on Instagram Live, I'm doing the show right here on Facebook Live, so the comments that I'm talking about are pulling these up. Thank you, Jeff Heilman, my golf buddy right there, man. All right, I love San Diego. You need to help me open a school there, dude. I was boxing this morning, dude. Right at Global Fighting Legion. Yeah, thank you, Philly girl, right here, 1950 to 2007. Two people in Tucson are in good shape too. All right, there's the How to Get Rich book. There's Ed Rush's book. You got to read this book. If you don't read 21 Day Miracle, reading it again, he said. I love it. Oh, some good comments about the book. Thank you for your comments. You guys are the best. All right, so step number 1, focus on what you have. Step number 2, to train your brain. Step number 3 of the goal-getting process is to focus on abundance. This is the reason you have to do this. Did you hear me just sigh? Whenever I sigh, it's because I'm thinking about the world. Okay? So we live in a world right now that has more blessings than at any time in human history. I was watching Apollo 13, the movie, with my kids the other night. Fred Lovell in the movie walks into a room and he said, we have computers that can fit inside of a room. I started to laugh, man. When I was flying F-18s, the airplane had about a 400 megahertz processor inside of it. That's maybe a millionth of the processing power in your phone. It's tiny. You carry a supercomputer around in your pocket, okay? We live in a culture that thinks we're running out of everything, by the way. There's no room. We're running out of room. We're overpopulating. We're not. We're not. Have you ever flown from the West Coast to the East Coast or the other way and looked down? We're not, okay? We're not. Every time in human history, people freaked out about missing something, we always got it, okay? Read the history of the late 1800s. Do you know what the big crisis was? Whale oil. We're running out of whale oil. What happens after we run out of whale oil? The lights will all go out. Oh my gosh. That was the crisis. How ridiculous. The human condition is where we spend all of our time thinking about the things we don't have, okay? People are like, water, Ed, water's super scarce. No, you pee in water, okay? So until you stop peeing in water, don't you dare tell me how that water's scarce, okay? Food supply. We've had more food, more abundance in our food supply across the world than we've ever had in the history of the world. Yes, there are pockets that need that, but I would bet the reason for those pockets isn't because of supply, it's because of bureaucracy. You show me the biggest famines in the world, I'll show you the worst governments in the world. It has to do with leadership, okay? Now, here's the challenge with abundance. I was told this once like this. Here's the deal. You got a pie, and this is all the resources we have, and see if you take a bigger piece of the pie, somebody's going to little smaller piece of the pie, so don't be selfish, okay? That's why you hear people who can make money and never keep it. A lot of the people that first, when they come to me as clients, they're what I call way stations for money. They get money, but then it goes right through them. If you have this pie mentality, this limited world mentality, you will not be able to hold on to money. You just won't, okay? But what you need to understand is that entrepreneurs, we create more than we consume. What that means is that entrepreneurs make more pies. We have more resources now. We have more, you ever go to the grocery store? I mean, okay, the other day at the grocery store, I made this Asian chicken thing last week for our family. The other day at the grocery store, I bought bok choy. You ever bought bok choy? Do you know 100 years ago, you would have been like, hey, could you run down to the store and buy bok choy? And the person would have looked at you and been like, bok choy? You can go to a store and buy bok choy. Think about that. That's amazing, okay? So we live in an abundant world, and when you realize how abundant it is and how much can be coming to you that you can be giving to others, it's amazing, okay? If you think it's not, it's going to be hard for you to attract wealth. That's just the way that it is. But when you understand this amazing, incredible world, we do have problems. I'm not denying that. We have challenges before us, but you know what? We're really good at solving those challenges. So the third step is to focus on abundance. All right, I'm going to jump into chat real quick. Boom. Oh, you just got the book. I love it. It's crazy, man. It is unbelievable what we went to the moon with. No joke. Oh, gosh, I know. And now they're going to spend billions of dollars to fix a problem that happens every 100 years. But I heard you guys were out. I talked to Jonathan. He said he didn't have power for 3 days. This is a great point. Diana says, think of all the seeds in one watermelon that you can plant and make hundreds of watermelons. Whew, man. If you've ever, I said this before, if you've ever looked at a garden, you put the seed in the ground and it takes dirt and water and makes a watermelon. That is crazy. That's a whole new thing, You would think all of our food would be made up of dirt. It is, but it tastes really, really good. Beautiful, beautiful world that we've been given. All right, step number 1 is to focus on what you have. Step number 2 is to train your brain. Step number 3 is to focus on abundance. Step number 4. By the way, if you just joined us, my name is Ed Rush. This is the How to Fuel Big Goal finale, okay? By the way, I'll come back and say this real quick. Next week, we've got a whole new show. So Tuesdays are going to be EdTalks Live. Thursdays are going to be a similar show format with a different topic. We're going to talk, I'm going to do a new show called God Talks. And we're going to be focusing on the connection between the spiritual and the business world. When you unlock some of these spiritual success secrets, you will be amazed at how quickly you'll move on to some of the success that should have been coming to you, but you've been stopping or one way or another. I find it fascinating. I've got literally hundreds and hundreds of people that I've helped with this who have reconnected in a significant way with God, and their business totally took off because they got some blocks out of the way. Okay, so step number 4 on the goal accomplishing or the goal getting process is to connect to purpose. Okay, so for years I was teaching 3 M's: market, message, media. Start with your market, focus in on your market, dial in your market, then go to your message, then go to media. Just 2 years ago, I added a 3rd M or a 4th M. The 4th M is mission. Fundamentally, my belief is this: you were put on planet Earth to do something amazing. You were given a set of gifts that is so unique. My friend Jonathan Sprinkles, who I just mentioned, says, God created you an original. Don't act like a copy. But most people spend their lives, in the book, The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, it says, there will be time to prepare a face to meet the faces that you meet. Incredible piece of poetry speaking about how everybody puts this face on, this little false front, okay? And by the way, if you want some history, go back to the very beginning of the Hebrew scriptures and read the 3rd chapter of Genesis, where in the moment of the fall, Adam and Eve went and hid themselves. Basically, humanity's been doing that very successfully ever since then, okay? And so the moment you take off your mask and you go, hey, this is me. This is the true, authentic me. 2 things happen. Number 1, you begin to attract the right audience to you. Number 2, you begin to repel the wrong audience. So guess what? You're going to get some 1-star reviews. I mentioned this book. I mentioned my book, 21 Day Miracle, right? There it is, edrushbook.com. When you go over to Amazon, you will see I have, I think it's over 30 1-star reviews at this point. Now I've got like a couple hundred 5-star ones, right? Guess which ones I think about? Nope, 1-star. Okay, so like when you be you, when you're like the you that you were supposed to be in the world, you will immediately attract all of the right people and you will begin to repel the wrong ones. Now I'm going to tell you a little secret. Remember all those 1-star hater reviews? They might hit you. It might hit you a little bit when you read those, until you realize this. The reason they wrote that 1-star review is very, very interesting psychology. Is when you're authentically you, what they see is someone being authentically themselves. And it makes them realize what a fake they've been their whole life, and they take it out on you. Okay? But all you're doing is reminding them, hey, this is me. This is who I am. Okay? So if you like it, fine. If you don't like it, that's cool too. So like I talk in business about spirituality. I talk about God. I talk about the Bible. And I talk about Jesus. Some people are like, I don't want that spiritual stuff. But you know what? I've had some of the most anti-religious people who've been attracted to my message and then found some spiritual tip that changed their life. I had a woman that came to one of my events, an atheist. Y'all know we do this exercise at my events where you ask God questions and get answers. She came up to me with a page of notes and she said, I'm an atheist and I have a page of notes from God. How does that work? And I said, I don't know. You're the atheist. You tell me how that works. Okay. Now, you want to know something interesting? 2 years later, I'm like, hey, what's up with, what are you up to? She goes, every Friday I spend an hour with God. Every Friday. I said, you still an atheist? She said, I think so. I said, you pray more than most Christians I know. Hour a week, man. That's legit, okay? So step number 4, we're going to talk about more about this later on, is to connect to purpose, okay? Oh, man. By the way, that's why step number 4 is to connect to purpose. All right, I'm gonna do 5 and then I'm gonna wrap it up. All right. So this is the last one. So step number 5 is my favorite mind control strategy of all. All right, and this is a strategy that I call heavy bat dreaming. Heavy bat. Remember I said, I'm going to show you how to do impossible things, not just the possible things. The first step to heavy bat dreaming is you have to create a goal that when you say it, people laugh. Okay, I love those kind of goals. I want to live to be 144 years old. Ha ha ha. No, I'm serious. All right. I want to be president, but not a Republican or a Democrat. That's impossible. Yep, that's right. You got that right. That's my favorite goal. Okay. I want to colonize a planet. No, for real. Like I really do. Okay. Heavy bat dreaming involves taking an impossible goal and then multiplying it out about 50 times. Okay. So let me give you an example. I was sitting in my little chair one day and I was having a conversation with God. He said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be influential in changing this nation. And he said, no, that's not big enough. I said, all right, cool. I want to be influential in changing the world. God said, nope, that's not big enough. I said, wait a second, what's bigger than the world? The solar system? Okay, I want to be influential in changing the solar system. He said, no, not big enough. I said, all right, the galaxy. Boom. I want to be influential in changing the galaxy. Now, it was in that moment I thought, what would it be like to colonize a planet? I mean, you have to get there, right? You have to make sure that the planet is terraformed properly. And then when you get there, you've got like that initial 50, maybe 100 people. How would you do it? Like, what kind of rules would you set up? How would you care for this planet that we just inherited in some way? Like, how would you make sure that people treated each other properly without too much control, allowing freedom, allowing love to develop, allowing relationships to grow? But how would you do it? Like, how would you train your kids, Like, what age would you start? What would you start teaching them in the beginning? How would you teach them about your culture and your community and about your history and how we treat each other? How would you do all those things? Like, how would you set a government up? Would it be like a king, or would you be like, no, let's all vote about this? Would it be a true republic, or democracy where like everybody voted, or would you have representatives? And how would you make sure that those representatives didn't become corrupt over time? How would you deal with land ownership? In other words, if somebody wanted this area over next to the river, how would you figure all that stuff out? And I started writing all that stuff down because remember, I'm like kind of trying to be influential in the galaxy. And I'm starting to figure out like, how would you colonize this planet? I started thinking through all those things. And after doing that thought experiment, I looked back at the United States and I was like, that's easy. I mean, shoot, we already have like Senate, Congress, we've already got and I thought, isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? So I had like a little conversation with God that he kind of backs me into this new way of thinking. And if I started thinking about the galaxy, when I came back to the United States, it was like it was small. It was like it was pretty easy, It's like he says in the Old Testament, it was a light thing. God says, look, this was a light thing for me to make you head over all Israel, he told the king. So heavy bat dreaming leverages itself on, like, for example, you ever seen the baseball players in the on-deck circle? My son and my dad are at a spring training, baby, in Arizona. Heavy bat, they swing a heavy bat so that when they go up to the real plate, their bat feels really light. Now, the bat's still the same molecular weight. It hasn't changed. Gravity hasn't changed. This thing's still the same weight. It just feels lighter. They can swing it faster because it feels lighter. Okay, and so heavy bat dreaming is to take your goal, multiply it by about 50 times, and then work your way back. So let's say you want to write a book that sells 1 million copies. Well, imagine for a while, set your mind around selling 50 million copies, take some of that emotion from step number 1 and put it on to step number 50, and you'll find, wow, 1 million isn't actually that hard when you think about it, and it's not. Okay, so step number 1, focus on what you have. Step number 2, train your brain. Step number 3, focus on abundance. Step number 4, connect to purpose. And then step number 5 was my favorite mind control strategy, which I called heavy bat dreaming. Okay, so that is the process right there. I'm going to move this camera back. What's up? Instagram Live. You guys are awesome, man. Okay, I'm going to take any questions that you have, and then we're going to wrap up today's show. By the way, the show on Thursday is my friend Chuck Muth. How to go from controversial to compelling with great copy. Okay, I don't know if you know this or not, but some of my really good friends are really conservative, very conservative on the right side of the spectrum. Some of my best friends are really liberal, like way on the left side. In fact, I started a business with a guy who is basically the most liberal guy that I know. I mean, I'm talking about like really way over here. So I have friends that are way over here, and I have friends that are way over here. You know what I like to do when I get with those friends? I like to listen. Because you know what? This dude, he's not right about everything, and he's not right about everything. And the middle people aren't right about everything either, okay? The answers to most of those problems are actually not even on the political spectrum someplace. So if your initial reaction is, see what on the bottom where it says Nevada's #1 conservative blogger? If your initial reaction is, I don't want to listen to him, well, you're missing out, you know, on a perspective that you may learn a lot about. He's a really good copywriter, by the way. I interviewed my buddy twice, by the way, on this show. Twice. I had my guy on the far left, and if you're on the right and you hear somebody who's super, super liberal, like, I don't want to, you're missing out. Missing out, okay? Missing out. It's time to start listening. All right, so thank you. Yes, Ron, the great news is if you're watching this on Facebook, which you are, or on YouTube, once I'm done with the show, just hit refresh and the post will start itself again and you got the replay. I like it, man. I'm telling you, man, this is some of my best stuff coming up right now. So I may end up writing a book on some of this stuff. All right, so don't forget, your job, thank you. Oh, the laughing Ed picture. Yeah, so this new picture, I just got my pictures, a bunch of new pictures. I had to, I'm like, sometimes I can get really serious. I have a serious one someplace. I'll put my serious one on there, but this was me right now. Thank you, Diana, you're awesome. All right, don't forget, you have a mission, a story, an experience that's going to change the world. All right, look, and if you don't do it, nobody's going to do it. There's no plan B. Okay, it's your job to do it and to get it out there. But it's not going to happen for you if you're focused on the lack of the world. It's not going to happen for you if you're focused on being angry at the other political party. It's not going to happen for you if you're going to sit around and make negative comments on people's Amazon pages. But it is going to happen for you if you do what I just said. Number 1, focus on what you have. Number 2, train your brain. Number 3, focus on abundance. Number 4, connect to your purpose. And number 5, if you want to accomplish really big dreams, you got the process called heavy bat dreaming. Okay, that's it for today's show. Stay tuned for next week. By the way, Thursday, we're going to talk about great copy. And then next week, new show format. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. All right, and we're going to go deeper on the topic of spirituality because it's important for you to accomplish your goals and dreams in the world. All right, so that's it for the most positive place on the planet for insanely implementable ideas. EdTalks Live is out.